Talia.
I smiled as I stared up at the ceiling on my bed. I can't believe I was able to convince my dad to talk to Don Emiliano so he could finally accept Luciano and our family. As time passed by, I thought he was definitely not going to help me. However, after I said my last words, it seemed like a switch had turned on inside him, and he finally decided to act like my father. I was busy with my happy thoughts when I heard a rustling sound from the balcony. I frowned as I sat up from the bed, looking at the suspicious silhouette just right outside of the glass door. I quickly got up and grabbed the bat on the side of the table. I held it as I walked over to the glass door. However, before I could even react, the door slid open and Luciano came into the room. "Whoa!" He raised his hands in defense when he saw the bat in my hands. I let out a sigh and put down the bat on the ground. "You fucking scared me," I grumbled. "I thought you were an intruder or something." "Surprise!" He smiled, walking over to me and capturing me in a warm hug. I melted into his arms and wrapped my arms around his torso. "I missed you," he said, placing a kiss on my forehead. "We met yesterday," I chuckled. "I still miss you," he said. "Don't you miss me too?" "I do," I whispered. "I miss you so much that you don't even know." He broke away from the hug and placed a quick kiss on my lips. "That's why I came here." I smiled and pulled him to the bed, wrapping our bodies with the blanket. I then proceeded to wrap my arms around his side, snuggling closer to his chest. "Did you miss my cuddles?" I nodded my head against his chest. "Can you stay here until the morning?" I asked, my voice hopeful. He sighed and shook his head. "I'm sorry, Bambi. I have to be at the main house in the morning before my dad wakes up. I assure you that I'll be here until you fall asleep, though." "I guess that's better than nothing," I said. "Things will go back to normal once everything is settled, right?" He hummed. "It sure will, Bambi. In due time, we'll be okay." "Did you talk with your dad?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "What did he say?" I giggled because his voice was laced with nervousness. "I guess he's also as nervous as me when it comes to this." "He said yes," I vaguely said. "Yes, as in he would help us? Or yes, as in he'll abide by my father's original orders?" "He'll help us," I said, smiling up at him. "Really?" he asked. "Yeah." I couldn't believe it at first, I sighed. "But he told me that he'll talk with your dad tomorrow." "I'm so proud of you, Bambi." The two of us just laid there for a while, and if I had the ability to stop time, I would have done so at that moment. There's no other comparable moment to basking in Luciano's warmth. I suddenly sat up from the bed when I remembered that I still had something to do for today. Luciano looked at me with concern, placing his hand on the small of my back. "What's wrong, Bambi?" "I forgot to call Lucille," I said, taking my phone from the bedside table and dialing Grandpa Ferry's number. His eyes sparkled in delight at the mention of our daughter's name. "My baby," he said. "I haven't seen her in so long." "She misses you so much," I said. "Me too," he responded. "Mommy?" Lucille excitedly said as she popped up on the screen. "Baby," I excitedly said. "Where's your grandpa?" "Sleeping, Mommy," she giggled. I took his phone because it was making sounds. "Good job, baby. Look who I have right here," I excitedly said, panning the camera toward Luciano. Lucille gasped as soon as she saw her dad. "Daddy!" she exclaimed, bringing the phone closer to her face. "I missed you." "I missed you too, baby," Luciano said, taking the phone from my hands. His smile was so wide that I was afraid his lips were going to rip. I swore I also saw a tear in the corner of his eyes. "When are you coming home, Daddy?" Lucille asked in a sad voice. I went closer to Luciano so the two of us could be seen in one frame. "Soon, baby," he said, trying to keep his voice as cheerful as possible. "What do you want when we go back, honey?" I asked, trying to lighten up the atmosphere. Can you buy me a pink bag, Mommy? Of course, I smiled. What else would you like? And donuts, she adorably said. A pink bag and donuts. We'll definitely buy those for you, Luciano promised. Wait for us to come home, okay? Okay, she said, obediently nodding her head. I won't be sad while waiting for Mommy and Daddy. That's my girl, I smiled. Bye-bye, for now, baby. Mommy and Daddy still have a lot to do tomorrow. She waved her hand goodbye. I'll wait for you, she cutely said before I ended the call. I plopped down on the bed as soon as the call ended. I miss her so much. Luciano laid down right beside me. We're going to come back to her sooner than expected. I just know it, he said. I sure hope we will. I just can't take my mind away from her for a second. She's one of the main reasons why we're doing all of these. I just want her to grow up in a peaceful and complete family. I'm sorry, he said, causing me to look at him. Why are you apologizing? Maybe if I weren't in this profession, things would have been easier for the two of us. Hey, I said, turning to my side and holding onto his cheek. Don't apologize for things like that. You did not get to choose this life. And besides, we wouldn't have met if you weren't part of the Mafia. Could you imagine your life if you didn't meet me? He smiled and shook his head. You're right. I can't imagine life without you. Me too, I smiled, placing a kiss on his neck. So, even if things get hard, I'm just happy that I am with you. No matter what, Bambi. I'll always be there by your side. I chuckled. You even wanted to avoid me yesterday. He sighed. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking straight. I was just thinking about how I could prioritize your safety. I nodded my head. I understand. But from now, I'll make sure to always be by your side. Even if I have to move mountains, I will move them just for you. Even if you have to disobey your dad? His jaw clenched, but he still nodded his head. No matter what.
Talia.
I woke up and outstretched my hand, trying to look for the source of warmth that comforted me. I opened my eyes and saw that Luciano wasn't there anymore. I smiled bitterly as I remembered what he had said yesterday. He did say that he won't be able to be with me the moment I woke up, but it still sucks that we're in this position right now. I let out a sigh as I entered the bathroom to take a quick shower. As the water cascaded down my body, I thought about how my father would be meeting the former Don today. My father proposed to come to his office to talk, but Don Emiliano wanted to come personally to our house. I guess that makes it all better. Now, I have the chance to listen in on their conversation. It's just quite disappointing that I probably wouldn't be meeting Luciano today. As I finished getting dressed up, I entered my father's office only to see him nervously tapping his foot on the ground. Are you all right? I asked. He chuckled and shook his head. You know? Aside from one person, the only ever other one who could make me tremble in my boots is Don Emiliano. Who's the other one? I asked. Your mom, he smiled. I also smiled at the memory of her. Although my mom was dainty and soft-spoken, I really can't deny that she can be horrifying when things get serious. I'm really sorry, Talia. He apologized. For everything I've done. I guess I just never wanted you to be a part of any of this, of the Mafia. Because I know how dangerous it could get, which projected into my indifference toward you. I nodded my head. I still don't get why he did those things, but I've honestly placed them all in the past. It's okay, I said. I'm thankful that you're helping me out on this one. It's the least I could do as your father. I gave him a tight-lipped smile in response. I'm afraid you can't join in on our conversation, though, he said. He might do something rash when he sees you here. It's all right, I said. It's not like that's going to stop me from eavesdropping in on their conversation. When will he come? In a couple of minutes, he said. I suggest you hide in your room for a moment. Okay. I'll talk to you when it's done. I went out of his office and entered my room. After a few minutes, I heard 2 sets of footsteps coming up the stairs. Along with that, I heard a familiar deep voice speaking with my father. I unconsciously frowned. He's here. Once I confirmed that the 2 of them were already in my father's office, I completely went out of my room and stood next to the office door. I placed my ear next to the door, hoping to hear their conversation. I did this ever so carefully so as not to alarm the 2 of them that I was listening in. My eyes furrowed in concentration as I couldn't hear the exact words that they were saying. I'm aware that my father is asking Don Emiliano a favor, but the former Don's voice was too low that I couldn't make out what he was saying. This went on for a while, and my father really tried his best to convince the former Don to accept Luciano and I's relationship as it is. All throughout the conversation, I never heard a word that Don Emiliano said. Strangely, I was able to hear his next phrases loud and clear. "She's here, isn't she?" I froze in my spot and stopped breathing for a second. My father was speechless, and I could already imagine the look on his face. He chuckled. "She's not here, Don. What are you talking about?" "She's here," he said with conviction. "I know that you've been missing your daughter, and you wish for her to come back. Why else would you be asking me for a favor? It's definitely because she's back and asked you to talk with me." I pursed my lips together in frustration. I underestimated the Don's intelligence. "She's not," my dad insisted. "This is my way of helping her even if she's away. I haven't been a good father to Talia for the longest time, and I also know that Luciano has some desires in his heart. Why don't you accept their relationship and make up for the negligence we've inflicted upon our children?" The Don stayed silent for a while, and I thought that my dad finally did it, that he was finally able to move Don Emiliano's heart. "Did Luciano put you up with this?" All the hope in my heart shattered. "Is that the reason why you're telling me all of this? Are you on his side now?" "That's not what I'm saying, Don. I will always work by your side. But this time, let's not talk like we're in the Mafia. Let's talk as fathers." The Don chuckled loudly. "You've changed, my friend. And I don't like it one bit. I will forgive you, but only because you've been a great confidant for all these years. But I'm going to punish Luciano for putting you up with this." My eyes widened in surprise. "He didn't put me up with this, Don. This is my own choice." "You can't expect me to believe that," he spat. At that moment, I felt like there was no other thing I could do. I didn't want Luciano to take the shot once again, so I placed my hand on the doorknob and twisted it open. With the sound of the door opening, the 2 of them looked over my way with contrasting expressions. My dad looked at me with wide eyes while Don Emiliano narrowed his. "So you really are here," Don Emiliano said, a smirk emerging from his lips. "Talia," my father said, walking over to my side. "What are you doing here?" I raised my hand up. "It's all right, Dad. This is also my battle to fight." "You're quite a strange girl," Don Emiliano said, crossing his arms in front of his chest. "You were able to get my son to impregnate you, and at the same time, you convinced your father, my lifelong confidant, to side with you." I scoffed in disbelief. "I did not get Luciano to impregnate me. What we have is based on mutual decisions, something you cannot respect." "Talia," my dad whispered my name. "This is a bad idea." I ignored his statement and continued looking at Don Emiliano with disdainful eyes. He sat back on his seat, leaning back comfortably on the hardwood chair. "Why don't the 2 of us talk?" he said, his voice having a suspicious glint. "Just the 2 of us."
Talia.
The 2 of us sat in silence. As much as I hated to admit it, this man still intimidated me down to the bone. "You're alive and well, I see," he said, breaking the silence. I cleared my throat and straightened my posture. "You probably thought I died." He tilted his head to the side. "By the Mafia's rule, you should be dead right now. Consider yourself lucky for still being able to breathe in this land." I looked to the side to hide my look of disbelief. "Why do you hate me so much? What did I ever do for you to reject Luciano and I's relationship? Oh, don't get me wrong. He smiled. I don't have anything against you. It would be any other woman, and I would still want them to leave my son. Right now, you're nothing but a distraction to him, a weakness. I chuckled coldly as I crossed my arms in front of my chest. With all due respect, sir, can you stop thinking about yourself for a second? What about what your son wants? What about what Luciano wants? He scoffed. Luciano? He doesn't know what he wants. All his life, he has been dependent on my words. And that's the reason why he got to the top. Your naive minds may not understand my logic right now, but the two of you will thank me in the long run. I kept my head up high as he continued with his statement. Luciano is destined to become my heir. The moment he leaves, the position is going to be forfeited to his cousins. I will not allow that, he said through gritted teeth. I've worked so hard to build this empire, and I can't have my siblings, who have been riding on my ass for the past decades, take the throne away from me in a split second. I looked at him with disbelief. So, this is what it's all about? He's just afraid of giving up the highest position to his other relatives? I can't believe he merely thinks of Luciano as leverage to make him stay at the top. And you? He chuckled, placing his elbows on the table. I'm sure you also don't want this life. I'm sure part of the reason why you left is because you wanted to safeguard your child. Do you really want to become involved with the Mafia again and place her safety at risk every day? Do you remember what happened to your mother? To Renee? My jaw clenched as he mentioned the important people in my life. He's a whole new level of low for bringing them up in this conversation. However, as much as I hate to admit it, he's right. One of the reasons why I left was because I wanted to give Lucille a peaceful life, and going back together with Luciano meant her life would always be put at risk. But, in the end, I know Lucille also wouldn't be able to live happily if she didn't have Luciano by her side. With that thought in my mind, I looked Don Emiliano in the eyes, full of conviction. It doesn't matter to me anymore. I know that Luciano can keep us safe. Honestly, the greatest enemy we have here is you, I said. He raised his eyebrows in response. Oh, really? He asked. Will my approval really make such a difference in the way you live? I know you know the answer to that. He stayed silent for a while. I looked at his face and tried to gauge his reactions, if he was caving in or if he was finally convinced. However, his face remained stoic all the time, giving me no clue. After a while, he finally opened his mouth to speak once again. I gave Luciano an ultimatum, he said. I froze. And I'm sure you're already aware of that. I kept silent and turned my head to the side. I guess my ultimatum wasn't as harsh as I had imagined. You even got Luciano to guard your precious daughter back in that province. Where are you going with this? I asked, confused why the conversation suddenly took this kind of turn. My plan did not work, he admitted. That's why I'm giving you a better ultimatum. I frowned while a huge smile appeared on his face. I'll accept you into the family, he said. My ears perked up, and at that moment, I felt like I'd be willing to do just anything for him to do the former. But? I asked. But I'm stripping your family of their positions in the Mafia, every single one of them. Oh, he clapped his hands. While we're at it, why don't we include your friend Daisy as well?
Sometime later.
I went to my room in Reese's house, still a little bit absent-minded from my conversation with Don Emiliano a while ago. He gave me an ultimatum, and as much as I want him to accept me into the family, I don't think I can do that to my family and Daisy. He even told me that he wouldn't bother Lucille and I for the rest of our lives if I left Luciano and everything behind. I plopped down on the bed and looked up at the ceiling, wondering what I would do in this situation. Should I continue to fight this long battle and have the other people in my life suffer for the sins they never even did? Or shall I keep it to myself and try to live a life with Luciano if that means the others can continue on with their lives afterward? I groaned in frustration. In the end, it's my happiness versus theirs. However, I wonder if I could truly be happy if other people have suffered for my own happiness. My train of thought was dismantled when I heard the balcony door opening once again, indicating that Luciano was here. I sat up from bed and tried my hardest to smile at him as he entered. "Bambi," he said, walking over to the bed and sitting down next to me. He looked at me with such loving eyes before leaning in to place a soft kiss on my lips. "How did it go?" he asked. My body stiffened for a second, however, I quickly gathered my thoughts to come up with a lie. "I honestly don't know," I said, looking down at my lap. "My dad talked to him this morning, but he didn't tell me anything about it." He frowned. "Why not?" I shrugged my shoulders. "I don't know. He probably plans on talking with him again tomorrow." He let out a sigh. "My father is very stubborn and may need more time before he is convinced. But don't worry, Bambi," he said, leaning over to place his hands on my waist. "Everything will turn out all right in the end." "Yeah," I said, biting my lips. He frowned when he saw this. "Is everything okay?" I stopped biting my lip and looked at him. Yeah, everything's fine." He removed his hands from my waist and held onto my cheeks instead. "Something's definitely wrong. Come on, Bambi. Tell me." I let out a shaky breath as I looked into his sincere eyes. I really love him. And I really want to be with him for the rest of my life. But at what price? There were so many thoughts jumbled inside my head that I didn't even realize the next words that came out of my mouth. "Everything's fine," I assured, showing a soft smile.